for this week. The month is almost over, so I have to pay for my rent, my phone, pending debts or bills. I had very challenging endings with people I care for, and things did not work out the way I wanted when it came to work, when it came to the way I would like those issues or challenges to have been handled. They did not go down the way I wanted to. And I can complain and point fingers, but it's not constructive to do that. And I realize now that it's not about what people are or aren't doing, but it's accepting what is. I don't have control over anybody but myself, so there's a case for everyone else as well. If I say that I want balance, if I say that I want prosperity and joy, it's a choice that I need to make. And so far, the choice I've been making is whenever I have an interaction to come in with either joy or realness, and to adjust and go with what is going, even if I'm anxious, even if I'm stressed, even if I'm like triggered in some way. I definitely have a lot of adjustment to do. I definitely have a lot of shit to work on. I don't see it as something that stresses me anymore. It's just like a fact of life. Like, okay, there's all this stuff to do. Me stressing about the fact that I have a long list is not going to help me do the list faster or better. Not only that, but my only job in life is not just to fulfill whatever list that is pending. I can also invest time to try to relax and enjoy life for the blessing that it is that I'm alive, and that I'm able to share it with other people. And to acknowledge that before it's too late. I was very focused on the tasks at hand that needed to be done in a certain way, like perfectionism, wanting to be really professional all the time, focusing on this, that, and it was like making my awkwardness even worse, I feel. And at this time, being accountable is a choice when it comes to some things you see, but also the things that you ignore. I was ignoring a lot of things when it came to being really optimistic about a certain relationship or certain situation, and there was a need to see things as they are and react accordingly, because we're not children, we're adults, and there's a need to be not reactive or preemptive, but just reacting accordingly to what is. If something is wrong, there's no need to pretend like, oh yeah, it's wrong, but things are going to work out eventually because everything works out. That's very optimistic, but there's a need to change something. If the water is, the ceiling is leaking, it's nice to be like, yeah, but the storm is going to end. This needs to do something about the leak, because shit is going to get worse. Not only is it's not even about a leak anymore, it's going to be about a wood issue, and how, like, now you have an issue with your roof, and you have cost and planning and finding different type of contractors. Like, it becomes a whole thing because you ignore certain things for the sake of optimism. And if it works for concrete things like a roofing issue where your roof is leaking, if it's concretely happening with relationship where certain things are happening that you know are wrong, that you are doing or saying, I am saying or doing, that you see things are not working, being silent and waiting for the perfect time is gonna not necessarily always be searching for peace. Sometimes there's a need to adjust accordingly. And that also comes with my personal responsibility when it comes to where I invest my energy and my time and my focus. And it was really upsetting to realize how much time I was assessing things, researching things, and not putting in application. It was really upsetting to realize that I have a lot of maybe understanding of certain concepts when it comes to relationships and communication. I was not fucking applying this shit. When it comes to wanting the benefit of balance within my relationship or my space or my decisions, I was overclouded by anxiety, stress, and wanting to please, or wanting to not make waves, or wanting the best resolution possible. And that approach failed in so many ways. In so many ways that basically, when I tried to fix things, I realized that I waited way too long before. That when I was ready to do certain decisions, like wanting to purchase certain things like a car or a home or a business or going back to school, that my finances were not necessarily allowing me to do that because the way I was working or the way I was managing my responsibilities was counterproductive or mostly uneducated. I was just making choices out of reaction. I need to react because I need to deal with this problem. I'm working a lot because I'm in debt. I need to do this, that, and the third. I have a plan, but at the same time, my application on the plan was lacking and iffy at best. And I can say whatever the fuck speech, and I can write whatever strategy plan, and I can have great conversation with people. But at the same time, if 2 hours, days, months, seasons, quarter, semester, 2 years, 12 years pass, and all I have to show for myself is a lot of speeches and a conversation around tea and a glass of wine and a meal or over whatever the fudge activity I was doing at the time, guess the fuck what? Am I going to be fulfilled? Am I going to genuinely be a person showcasing the value I keep mentioning within myself and within my conversation that are important to me? No, I'm going to be a shit talker. So I can say whatever the fuck I want about how circumstances this and circumstances that. But the thing is, I really, really, really needed to listen when people told me stop focusing on what everybody's thinking and what everybody's feeling and what everybody making you feel that you should be doing and whatever. And it says, for a freaking moment, how the fuck do you feel? Where the fuck you're at? Are you happy there? Is it sustainable? Is it genuinely bringing you joy or balance or positivity? And if not, is it really other people or is it your attitude that is shitty? Is it you that always trying to see what's not working? Is it you always nitpicking things needing to be a bit better than they are? Or are you able to acknowledge what is for the joy and the benefit? Like the blessing. When I say benefit, I mean like the blessing that is actually bringing to your life, however small or trivial. I can complain about certain things not matching my expectation, or I can acknowledge that things are the way they are because for X amount of time, I made certain choices and I have the result that I have today. So it's on me. Some of those results are really not where I would like them to be. Some, I can applaud myself, tapping myself in the back of like, there's growth, but it's not just coming from me, it's coming from the relationship I and community incentives that were in place that allowed me to have certain things. I can be greedy and just think about, oh, I should be blessed and happy and I should get this and I should get that. I also need, you also need to acknowledge where you do some shit that needs to adjust and do need to become real about what the fuck is the truth without the makeup, without the play pretend for appearances, without what sounds, whatever it sounds like. For me, that meant multiple shifts required. And at this current time, just for the sake of time, because I tried to speak on different concepts, I'm not even going to try to attempt doing it again. But it's not about concept. Concretely, be about that action. Don't complain. Don't point fingers. Don't talk shit. Don't do the poor me. Blah blah blah. Don't say that you don't deserve shit. You're one human on this planet, and you get what you put your energy towards. If I'm not financially stable, I can put my head away from the sand, stop playing ostrich, and being real about, okay, where are my finances at? What are my expenses? What do I need to make on a weekly or monthly basis to make my rent, to have enough food to eat? What are expenses that I do not need? What are things that I do not need that I can give away or or share? What am I actually doing with my time and my energy every day? Is it genuinely doing my job? Is it genuinely helping people? Is it genuinely being a good friend or a good family member or a good team player, a good neighbor? Am I really doing that shit? Because before I go and I started complaining about this, that, and the third, what the fuck am I doing? What the fuck are you doing? And it's not even about being negative about what you don't do. It's about being real about what you do. Maybe you actually, there was a time I was doing so much shit for people. But then I was resentful because I was saying, but what about me? Who does that for me? You need to do that for yourself, fam. And it's really easy to see it when other people are doing that. Like you're doing this for other people, and then you're complaining that, oh, well, I have no energy to do things for me. Invest in yourself enough that you don't feel like you've been cheated because you started to invest in other people. Don't share your things so much that you generally feel like you're lacking. It's supposed to be a balance thing. And obviously that changes by situation. I don't want to get lost in this example, but at this time it's more of a thing of like concretely, I know I need to improve my credit. I have no credit history. I always was working really, really hard because I make decisions when I was younger that made me put myself in a financial burden, and it's only recently that I could say that I finally worked my way out, because circumstances always change, and I would basically put myself in other toxic situations where I would have to work more to pay what I owe, and I would have to like take money from this and that person and give it back with a percentage. So it was always running for money. All that I did, and at the end of the day I can say like, okay, well, I know I can work, but it's nobody gives a fuck if you're a good employee, because if you die tomorrow, what people care about is Were you supportive? Were you a good listener? Did you show that you care? Did you show that you love people? Did you listen? Did you invest time? Most of the people, what they want the most is like people to show that they care, people to listen to them, people to laugh with them, encourage them, be supportive, be encouraging, actually acknowledge what the fuck they're saying, acknowledge that they exist, acknowledge that they're important, acknowledge that whatever they're going through is valid, that is challenging, that is difficult, but that we have one more day, one more task, and we tackle things one more thing at a time. So I've been saying things like that to myself. Other people have said those things to me before I could say those things to myself. And the good that you receive is about sharing with other people, not just in terms of money and working hard, not just in terms of values and having intelligent conversation for the sake of having constructive arguments or whatever the fuck. Like, I mean, who the fuck cares, man? What matters is, like, you're alive today, and are you going to continue pretending, or are you going to wake up to the fact that you have so many yesterdays? Sure, but if you want your eventual tomorrows to be different, you have power over that. You're not just a victim of your circumstances. I'm not just a victim of my past chapters. I'm not just a victim of other people's opinions and challenges and emotions. I'm not just a victim of my own past and my own burdens. I can make a decision to want to shift things slowly but surely into a direction that may be completely opposite, elevated, in a new angle, in a new position, with all you need to do is breathe and pause and assess instead of pretending continuously that everything is great and fine and dandy, that you know where you're going. Because even though you do, it's important to assess where the fuck you're at and how do you feel, how are you responding to others, how are you dealing with all this stuff that is shifting on a daily. And instead of, it's human to feel, it's human to be affected or distracted. It's human. Blame is a choice. Accountability is a choice. Coming in with joy or coming in with stress, coming in with pointing fingers or coming in with pointing fingers at yourself. These are all things that you can develop an awareness to. What am I doing? Why am I doing it? Is it useful? Is it bringing me joy? Is it bringing joy to other people? Is it beneficial to anything? Is it constructive? Is it going in a direction that actually brings me closer to the things I think and believe are important to me, or to the people that I care about, or to the goals that I have, or the aim I'm trying to aim towards? I tried to be more concise because the other thing I did was like way too long. I basically spent like an hour trying to say something constructive concisely. Hopefully it brought some sort of logic and not just word vomit. It's August 2022. Autumn is very near. It's getting colder and colder every night. People are getting colds and stuff. It's joyful. But with new season, new approach, new adjustment are needed. We know this. It's the same thing that I'm trying to see when it comes to different chapters of how things are evolving. I can be sad that we're having less sun, or I can be happy that I get to be cozy now. Things are changing. Not all of them are good. Not all of them makes me happy, but being real is about being accountable, about okay, these are the choices I made. I'm just gonna adjust and adapt. And there's a need to not just talk about it or think about it, but generally make that choice. That's what I'm gonna try to be about, and hopefully something in that resonated, fam. Did it? Okay. Today, 2020.